It has never been more important to champion black filmmakers as now, so this week's topic is the works of Ava DuVernay. She was the first black female filmmaker to be nominated for a Best Picture Oscar. When was this, I hear you cry? 2014. But we'll get to that in a moment. I'd like to review her powerful documentary 13th, which has gained some traction in recent weeks due to its availability on Netflix and its association with the Black Lives Matter movement. It discusses a film I've talked about on this blog before, Birth of a Nation, but does so with an eye less judgmental than I. Much of the film is interspersed with facts and figures, which often can be a little confusing. I'm not too big a fan of the text that appears on the screen throughout much of the film, and think it watches more like a well-made PowerPoint presentation than a great documentary. The content, however, is shocking, and the message more important than the medium in which it's presented. It lets the viewer make their own mind up about the crime rate and incarceration rate, but to any viewer, the answer is clear. I would recommend any naysayer of the protests that are going on right now to give this film a watch, as it really cannot be argued with here. From the most serious of subject matters to the lightest, A Wrinkle in Time stars Storm Reid as Meg, a young girl whose father mysteriously vanished 4 years ago. She goes in search of him and stumbles across magical lands, magical people, and Oprah Winfrey. Reid plays well, but is far outmatched by her younger brother Charles Wallace, who steals basically every scene he's in. The two siblings discover the real meaning of family. It's a bit of a cliched movie, particularly towards the end, but there are some good scenes, especially once the magic starts to happen. There's a scene with Zach Galifianakis that's very funny and very well done. I will mention that one of my least favourite tropes in films is characters having an amazing time flying on the back of some magical creature or other. See, Harry Potter riding a broomstick, Harry Potter riding a hippogriff. We, the audience, can't really feel it, and filmmakers seem to get lazy when seeing it as the big whoop moment. Anyway, it's used here when Storm Reid takes a ride on Reese Witherspoon's back. The scene doesn't really go anywhere, and it seems like a big waste of CGI that would have been far better used somewhere else, maybe in the climax. The film isn't without its flaws, but the colours and wonder often make up for a lot of the storytelling issues. It's a much earlier DuVernay film. Her 2012 Middle of Nowhere centres around a young couple whose relationship is tried and tested when the husband gets put in prison for 5 years minimum. Minimum is the key point here. We flash forward 4 and a bit years to see a struggling Ruby, how her life has changed, and how she's dealing with the inability to even kiss her partner. It's a very moving film and makes one question the viewer. How long is too long to see your lover? How long distance can a relationship survive? It's interesting to note that we only get hints at Derek's, that's the husband's, crime. It's barely touched upon. We don't know if he's innocent, but throughout the very brief glimpses we hear of the time inside the prison would suggest not. We never see him go back to the cells, and this is truly Ruby's film. She is our protagonist, and even key scenes regarding Derek are shown through her lens. Seeing it through ruby-tinted glasses, one could say. When David Oyelowo shows up as a bus driver, something he plays with great care and a quiet performance, Ruby realises there could be more to life than supporting her nostalgia for her husband. It's a good film and a nice difference from the big stories. It's a simple story about love and relationships, and shows the hallmarks of a filmmaker with a lot of promise. I greatly enjoyed it. Many know of Martin Luther King Jr., they know I Have a Dream, they know he was shot, but in Selma, DuVernay explores the man and the movement that led to the march from Selma to Montgomery in 1965. The film is a typical biopic and as powerful as any film about such important historical events can be. By the end, a few tears had escaped from this viewer at least. There was lots to enjoy about this, David Oyelowo in particular. Tim Roth is great, and Common particularly watchable. Oprah Winfrey seemed underused, but noticeable as Annie Lee Cooper. Could we have explored more about King's personal life? Probably yes. There wasn't as much detail as I would have liked, and anyone could probably have written a similar film from just reading a bit of information on the topic. The problem seemed to me to be behind the scenes. The filmmakers, for whatever reason, weren't allowed to use the real speeches. Whilst DuVernay's replacement speeches are powerful and emotive, the poignancy is possibly lost a smidge when they weren't written at the time, not knowing where the future would lead, not knowing how powerful and how studied they would be. It's the lack of realism that sort of makes one think of the film as just that, just a film. It's for this reason that makes me wonder whether or not the filmmakers made some script changes, possibly about King's personal life, in order to try and appease whoever the rights holders are. Should such powerful speeches about civil rights be subject to copyright? I'll let you be the judge of that. And on that note, I'll leave you to ponder. Thanks for watching. See you all next week when we'll be delving into the fantastical horrors of other worlds than these.